Hello again, everybody. I hope everyone had a great weekend. This week we are going to do Module 21. You'll be working on the assignments for that module, and we kind of wrap up Reconstruction. It's been a 3-module process, but this just kind of looks at the lasting impacts of Reconstruction, but also asks the question, was Reconstruction actually a success or was it a failure? So, at the end of this week, you should be able to really do 3 things. Describe how the Constitution of 1868 showed the political advancements of African Americans. You should be able to name the most lasting impact of Reconstruction for African Americans and just kind of know some examples and why they are examples. And then argue why some would call Reconstruction a failure. Historians, teachers, college professors do entire classes and lessons on, is Reconstruction a failure or a success? So that's going to be a large part of what you're going to be looking at this week. So very quickly, let's just go through the high points of this module. Probably the highest point is the Constitution of 1868 for South Carolina. The radical Republicans have actually taken control of South Carolina in 1868. So you've got the military there kind of protecting African Americans, protecting the carpetbaggers and the scallywags. And the military governor has taken control of the government itself. So because of this, the racist Democrats are nowhere to be found in the government. You don't have them there. And so the African Americans are given more and more of a voice during the Reconstruction period. Now, when we get to 1868, the Republicans say South Carolina needs a new constitution. The old one was written by racist whites, and we need one written by African Americans and their Republican colleagues. So what you've got is this constitution that's actually written by African Americans, carpetbaggers, and scallywags. And remember, they're the 3 groups that make up the Republicans in South Carolina. The main thing it does is it guaranteed all males would be able to vote. It also does give some rights to women for the first time. So you've got the Republicans giving the right to women to own property for the first time. And just imagine all of the ladies that have come before. One that comes to mind is Eliza Pinckney, who actually cultivated indigo. It was illegal for her to own property up until 1868. And then South Carolina's representatives, I always show that picture of our representatives to Congress. They were African American, and this is the first time that South Carolina elects any African Americans to leadership positions in the government. Now, continuing on sort of the positive part of Reconstruction, there are some very big advances in the impact of education during Reconstruction. So the most lasting impact of Reconstruction is going to be education. African Americans, for the first time in a long while, it is not illegal for them to learn how to write or read. Remember, the slave codes actually made it illegal during slavery for African Americans to learn how to read and write, but now it is actually encouraged. The Freedmen's Bureau is building schools very quickly, but then you also have this group of people, they're called in the reading just the Northern Philanthropist. It's basically this group of very, very wealthy Northerners who decide we've got so much money, we're going to donate our money and some of our time to build schools. And one example of that is the Penn School that I've pictured there. You can kind of see it is a small little school, but it was built by the Northern Aid Society, which again is just a group of very wealthy Northern philanthropists, and it was exclusively for African Americans, and it taught them how to do things other than just farm. So that was a huge advancement. Now we've got to end on the negative part. So it's called the successes and failures of Reconstruction. Here is the failure part. African Americans, they were more and more involved. In 1868, they actually wrote the Constitution, which is a huge deal. But as they get more and more power, the whites, and specifically the racist white Democrats, they begin to fight. They begin to kind of fight every step along the way. And so you do have two very specific groups in South Carolina, the KKK, which is probably the most popular, well-known group. But then you also have the White League pictured there. They go out and they burn down Freedmen's Bureau schools. They go and they threaten people who are just in line to vote. And so your video this week is all about the United States presidential election of 1876. And when you watch that, just keep in mind that there's a lot more at stake than just who's going to be the president in 1876. The video is going to explain it a whole lot deeper, but basically the Republicans make a deal. If our guy, Rutherford B. Hayes, becomes president, then we will pull the military out of the South. And when they pulled the military out of the South, you no longer have that protection for African Americans and the Republicans. And so immediately afterwards, Wade Hampton III, who is actually an active member of racist groups, was elected the governor. And so he is a return to Democratic rule in South Carolina, and this happens the year after the election. So you can see that while the military was here, it was almost like a forced change against racism, but when the military left, South Carolina sadly went back to its racist ways. So the word of the week this week is not actually a word at all. We're going to make it a number. The word of the week is 1876 because that is the beginning of the end for Reconstruction. So that is just a little preview of what you're going to be learning this week, and I hope you have a great week, and I will talk to you soon.